I thought I was hiring a nanny to protect my children. Instead, she nearly destroyed my family. One night, I opened my laptop and watched hidden camera footage that made my stomach drop. What I saw on that screen shattered my marriage and changed everything.
Oh, honey, you think a nanny just folds laundry and warms bottles? Some of them warm the wrong man's bed, too. Before we dive in, hit subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss stories like this.
I used to think my life was exactly the way I had always dreamed it would be. A loving family, a career I had fought tooth and nail to build, and a home that felt like the center of our little universe. My 5-year-old daughter, Lily, had the kind of laugh that could light up even the darkest day. And my 6-month-old son, Noah, was my quiet little miracle who completed our family. On paper, everything looked picture perfect. I was a senior marketing strategist at a firm that took years of late nights, missed social events, and endless presentations to climb into. I carried guilt every time I walked out the door in the morning because I wasn't the stay-at-home mother Pinterest blogs made me feel like I should be. But at the same time, I was proud that my daughter would grow up knowing that her mother chased dreams, not just diapers. Of course, with 2 children under 5 and a demanding job, we needed help. For the last 3 years, we'd had the same nanny, a wonderful woman named Carla. She wasn't just an employee, she was family. She'd seen Lily's first day of preschool, soothed Noah when he had colic, and even helped me through postpartum nights when I couldn't stop crying. So, when Carla told us she needed to move back to her hometown to take care of her aging parents, my heart sank. I remember that goodbye vividly. Lily clung to her legs and sobbed, "Don't go, Miss Carla. Please." I tried to keep my voice steady, telling her that families come first and we would still FaceTime every week. But inside, I was panicking. Carla wasn't just trustworthy, she was irreplaceable. Still, I didn't have the luxury of falling apart. I had meetings to attend, deadlines to meet, and 2 small humans who needed round-the-clock care. So I turned to what every overwhelmed parent turns to these days: an agency. The agency came highly recommended. "We only place professionals," the representative assured me over the phone. "Every candidate is thoroughly screened, background checked, and matched to your family's needs." A week later, we were introduced to Emily. She was in her late 20s, polished, well-spoken, and came with glowing references. She told me she had previously worked with 2 families who only parted with her when their kids started school. She seemed calm, capable, and her smile was warm in a way that put me at ease. Even Lily, usually shy with strangers, took Emily's hand and asked if she wanted to see her toy castle. That was my first sigh of relief. Noah gurgled in approval too, which felt like a good omen. My husband, David, seemed relieved too. "She's perfect," he said, as he helped Emily carry in her tote bag filled with children's books and activity kits. "We're lucky the agency sent her so quickly." But maybe it was because I'd been burned before, in business, in friendships, even in family, that something inside me whispered to be cautious. I ignored it on the outside, smiling politely and welcoming her into our home. But privately, I made a decision that same night. I installed hidden cameras. I told myself it was purely out of protective awareness. 2 kids this young couldn't tell me if something felt off. And although I desperately wanted to trust Emily, the world we live in has taught me too many times that perfect doesn't always mean safe. I didn't tell David. He would have thought it was paranoid. I didn't tell my best friend Rachel either, though she probably would have applauded the move. It was my quiet insurance policy. The first week went well. Emily had a natural rhythm with the kids, and Lily adored her. I'd come home to art projects spread out on the dining table, or find Noah clean, fed, and napping peacefully. My parents met her and gave their stamp of approval. Even Rachel admitted, "Wow, you lucked out. She seems amazing." And yet, little things nagged at me. Emily laughed a little too freely at David's jokes, even the corny ones. She lingered in the kitchen when he came home from work, offering him coffee like it was her place to do so. It was subtle, the kind of thing you brush off because you don't want to sound insecure. Still, I caught myself watching her interactions with him more closely than I wanted to admit. One night, after the kids were asleep, I confided in David. "She's settling in well, don't you think? She's a godsend," he said without looking up from his phone. "You can finally breathe again." That should have comforted me, but instead, it left me with a strange unease. It wasn't until the second week, when I returned home later than usual, that I noticed something peculiar. Emily and David were sitting at the dining table, laughing over something on his laptop. The dishes from dinner were still piled in the sink, and Lily was playing on the floor nearby while Noah fussed in his bouncer. "Hey," I greeted, trying to mask my surprise. They both looked up quickly. Too quickly. "Oh, we were just, talking about this hilarious video," David said, closing the laptop. Emily smiled, but didn't meet my eyes. It could have been innocent. Maybe it was innocent. But the pit in my stomach deepened. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat at my desk and pulled up the footage from the living room camera. At first, everything seemed ordinary. Emily reading to Lily, feeding Noah, tidying up. But the more I watched, the more I noticed how often David's figure appeared in the background, hovering, chatting, lingering. I closed the laptop and told myself I was imagining things. After all, I was exhausted, overworked, and overly protective. But as I drifted off to sleep, I couldn't shake the thought. Sometimes the danger you guard against doesn't come from strangers at all. The first few weeks with Emily slipped into a rhythm so quickly that it almost unnerved me. Lily ran to her every morning, tugging her hand to show off drawings or the newest game she'd invented. Noah cooed in her arms like she had been holding him since the day he was born. On the surface, it was exactly what we needed: stability. I told myself to be grateful. With Emily in the house, I could finally log into my late afternoon conference calls without guilt. And I wasn't rushing from daycare pickup to client meetings in a constant blur. My colleagues even commented that I looked less frazzled, which almost made me laugh. If only they knew that the only thing holding me together was the illusion of control. David seemed happier too. He came home from work and lingered longer in the kitchen, often chatting with Emily while she prepared the kids' snacks. Once, I overheard them laughing about something while I was upstairs on a call. When I came down, the laughter stopped abruptly, like someone had hit pause. I brushed it off. Maybe I wanted to brush it off. After all, wasn't I the one who was always asking David to help more with the kids? If Emily made it easier for him to engage, wasn't that a good thing? But there was a fine line between reassurance and denial, and I was walking it. One Friday evening, Rachel came over with takeout and wine, our sacred ritual since college. She kicked off her heels at the door, plopped down on my couch, and immediately scanned the living room like the detective she'd always secretly wanted to be. "So, this is the new nanny," she said, her tone casual, but her eyes sharp as Emily carried Noah upstairs for his bedtime routine. "Yes," I answered, trying not to sound defensive. "The kids love her." "Honestly, she's been a lifesaver," Rachel raised an eyebrow. "And how do you feel?" I hesitated. Rachel had always been able to read me too easily. I I don't know. She's good with the kids. Really good, but sometimes my voice trailed off. Sometimes sometimes I think she's a little too comfortable here. Like she belongs a little too much. Rachel took a long sip of wine, then leaned forward. "Listen, I'm not saying don't trust her, but trust your gut too. If something feels off, it probably is." Her words clung to me for days after. The following week, David started coming home earlier than usual. He used to walk in at 7:30 sharp, briefcase in hand, tie loosened, exhausted from the day. But now, he was arriving at 6:15, sometimes even before me. At first, I was thrilled. "The kids will love having more time with you," I said. He just smiled and kissed my cheek. "Yeah, it's nice being home." It should have warmed me. Instead, it sent a chill down my spine. One evening, I got home later than expected. Traffic had been brutal. I opened the door quietly, not wanting to wake Noah if he'd already gone down. From the foyer, I could see into the living room. David and Emily were on the couch, sitting closer than two people should when they weren't married or blood related. They were laughing over something on his phone. Emily tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, and David leaned in just slightly, like sharing a secret. Neither of them noticed me at first. "Hey," I said, louder than I meant to. They both jolted. Emily stood quickly. "Oh, Lily was showing us a funny video earlier. We were just—" David cut in. "Yeah, nothing big. How was traffic?" I forced a smile. "Awful." Dinner that night was quiet, at least for me. David chatted about work, Lily rambled about her new friend at school, and Emily laughed in all the right places. I pushed pasta around my plate and wondered if anyone else at the table could hear the alarm bells ringing in my head. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, I sat in my office and opened the hidden camera feed. I scrolled through the day, watching Emily play with the kids, change Noah, help Lily with puzzles. Perfect. Too perfect. Then I saw it. Not proof. Not yet. But something. David walked into the kitchen as Emily was wiping down the counters. He reached past her for a glass in the cabinet, but instead of stepping aside, she froze. He was close. Closer than necessary. Their bodies nearly touched. He took the glass, said something I couldn't hear, and she laughed softly. She didn't move away. Neither did he. It lasted all of 3 seconds, but my heart pounded as if I'd just watched them commit a crime. I shut the laptop with shaking hands. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just me being paranoid, but I couldn't shake Rachel's words. If something feels off, it probably is. The next morning, I tried to act normal. But when Emily smiled at me as she handed Noah his bottle, all I could think was, are you smiling at me? Or are you smiling because you think I don't know? The line between trust and suspicion blurred more with every passing day, and I knew I couldn't keep looking away forever. The house was finally quiet. Lily's nightlight cast a soft glow of pink stars across her ceiling, and Noah's white noise machine pulsed like a steady heartbeat down the hall. I should have gone to bed. Instead, I made coffee I didn't need and opened my laptop like it was a box I already knew held a bomb. I told myself I was just checking in. 5 minutes, then sleep. But my fingers didn't believe me. They moved with a certainty that felt older than reason. I pulled up the camera dashboard and clicked into the living room feed. I scrubbed through the day. Snack time, blocks, baby bottles, storybooks. Emily's voice rose and fell in that bright, confident way kids trust. David appeared here and there, quicker than usual after work again, dropping his keys on the console table, loosening his tie, drifting into the frame as if gravity had shifted, and the center of the house had become wherever Emily was standing. It started like nothing. 6:08 p.m. Emily kneeling on the rug with Lily, building a castle from wooden arches. David walking in with a paper bag and setting it on the table. He lifts 2 sodas, holds one up in a mock cheers. Emily smiles. Normal. Normal enough. 6:23 p.m. David returns with a dish towel, jokes about being the dishwasher with a tie. Emily laughs, tosses him a look over her shoulder that is lingering. Maybe it's the angle. Maybe it's me. 6:41 p.m. He reaches to take the baby from her. Their hands touch. He doesn't let go immediately. I pause the frame. My throat tightened like I'd swallowed a stone. My brain kept attempting bargains, context, lighting, coincidence, while my body already knew. I switched to the kitchen camera. 7:02 p.m. Lily is at the table coloring. Noah sits in his high chair, chewing a silicone giraffe. Emily stands at the counter, plating pasta. David is too close again. He says something. She shakes her head, embarrassed. He moves closer anyway. She turns, a dish in her hands, and his arm brushes her waist as he reaches for the forks. She doesn't step back. I push the slider forward with a shaky finger. 7:15 p.m. Bedtime routine starts. Emily carries Noah upstairs. David follows with a bottle. Lily skips behind them with a book. 7:38 p.m. The hallway camera catches a blurred moment. Emily coming down first, David trailing. They stop at the landing. He says something. She looks up at him. They stand there a beat too long. The air left my lungs. I clicked into the living room again. 7:49 p.m. They're both downstairs. Lily's door is closed. The house is hushed. Emily is picking up toys. David puts a hand on the back of the couch and says something that makes her smile. Small and private this time, like the kind of smile that belongs to two people on the edge of a decision. I drag the slider forward a few seconds at a time, terrified of what I would and wouldn't see. 7:52 p.m. He steps around the couch. She sets down a toy, looks at him. He leans in, not all the way, just close enough to ask a question with his eyes. She answers. He tucks a strand of hair behind her ear. There it was. Not sex? Not yet. But intimacy so unmistakable it felt profane in my living room, in my children's living room. I swallowed hard and backed up, hoping the replay would be different, as if reality might have a mercy setting. It didn't. He touched her. She let him. And the two of them stood there like a promise had just been made. I clicked through the rest. 8:03 p.m., 8:17 p.m., 8:26 p.m. Little things that became big things when you strung them together. The shared look, the hand that lingered, the way she angled her body toward him like a compass finding north. My hands were sweating. I wiped them on my pajama pants and opened a new folder on my desktop. I titled it Insurance and hated that I needed it. Then I downloaded the clips and mirrored them to the external drive in my desk drawer. I uploaded copies to a cloud folder with a name that meant nothing to anyone but me. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Still awake, insomnia twin? I stared at the screen for a second and then hit call. She answered on the first ring. What's wrong? I have footage. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. It's not. My throat constricted. Not explicit. But it's not nothing. Okay, she said, the words steady and careful. Walk me through it. I did, in halting fragments. The timestamps, the looks, the touch behind the ear, the way my ribs felt too tight to contain my lungs. Listen to me, Rachel said when I ran out of words. What you saw is enough. It's not about catching them in a hotel to justify your feelings. It's about boundaries and trust. He crossed both. She crossed both. You are not crazy. I feel stupid, I whispered. She is so good with the kids. And I wanted help so badly that I invited this into our home. You invited help, she corrected gently. They invited betrayal. I pressed my palm to my eyes until stars burst behind them. What do I do? First, keep backing up the files. Email a copy to me and to yourself at that old account you never use. Second, say nothing tonight. Sleep if you can. Third, call a lawyer in the morning to understand your options. Fourth, when you're ready, tell your parents. You need your team. My parents will be devastated. They'll be furious on your behalf, she said. And they'll show up. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. A small piece of me unclenched. I hate that I was right, I admitted. I hate that you had to be. We stayed on the line while I arranged files into subfolders and typed little notes like I was an archivist of my own unraveling. When we finally hung up, I sat in the silence and stared at the framed photo on my desk. David and me on the beach last summer, Lily squinting between us. Noah, a round-cheeked secret under my shirt we hadn't announced yet. I reached out and turned the frame face down. I texted my mother. Are you up? A bubble then. Always, sweetheart. Everything okay? No. Can you come tomorrow morning? I'll be there at 8. I love you. I closed the laptop. My body moved before my mind did. I walked to Lily's room, kissed her forehead, whispered a promise I wasn't sure how to keep yet. Mommy's got you. I did the same for Noah, smoothing the wisps of hair on his soft head, breathing in the milky sweetness that made every sacrifice make sense. Until tonight, when the ledger refused to balance. Back in the hallway, I caught my reflection in the mirror. Red-rimmed eyes, shoulders squared out of habit more than strength. I barely recognized her, the version of me who knew and could never unknow. The garage door rumbled. I froze. The sounds of the house rearranged themselves. Footsteps, keys, the tired exhale he always made before he took off his shoes. He was home. It occurred to me that I had choices. I could march downstairs and detonate everything with one word. Why? I could play the footage on the TV and watch him watch himself. I could say nothing and pretend I didn't see what I saw until I had a lawyer and a strategy and a fortress built of evidence and allies. I stepped into my office and slid the external drive into my pocket. My heart was a drum in my throat. Babe? His voice floated up the stairs, soft, familiar. You still awake? I answered without meaning to. Yeah. He reached the top of the stairs and leaned on the banister, the picture of a man coming home to the life he built, a life he believed would keep forgiving him as long as the lights stayed on and the laundry got folded and the baby slept through. Everything okay? He asked, squinting. You look tired. I looked at him like he was a stranger wearing my husband's face. The answers I wanted all caught behind my teeth. Not here, my mind warned. Not yet. Build the ground under your feet first. I couldn't sleep, I said, and my voice, to my surprise, was even. Long day. He nodded, relieved to accept the ordinary explanation. Yeah, mine too. I let the silence stretch until it pulled. He shifted. Want tea? I'm good. I stepped past him toward our bedroom, one palm flat against the drive in my pocket like it was a talisman. I have an early start. He watched me go, then turned toward the bathroom, humming under his breath like nothing in the world had shifted. But everything had. At our doorway, I paused and looked back down the hall to the dark square of the living room, the quiet witness to what I now knew. Tomorrow would bring calls and counsel and a plan. Tonight brought a decision. I closed the bedroom door softly, pressed my forehead to the wood, and whispered to the woman on the other side, the one holding it together for two small children and for herself. We move carefully. We move smart. We move now. Down the hall, the TV flickered to life with the screensaver David always forgot to turn off. A wash of color lit the stairwell like a warning. I didn't need the warning anymore. And for the first time since the day Emily walked into my home, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. The morning light always makes things feel more bearable, except that morning. The sun sliced through the curtains like a spotlight on a stage I hadn't auditioned for. My body ached from a night of pretending to sleep, and the external hard drive in my nightstand pulsed like a secret I could feel under my skin. David was already up, his voice carrying faintly from the kitchen as he made breakfast with Emily. My stomach turned. I slipped on a sweater, scooped Noah from his crib, and carried him downstairs. The scene waiting for me nearly broke me. Emily humming softly while flipping pancakes, Lily chattering about her doll's tea party, and David leaning against the counter like he belonged in some ad for the perfect family morning. But it wasn't perfect. It was poisoned. Morning, David said, smiling. His eyes flicked to mine, searching for the warmth I usually gave him. I offered none. Emily turned with her too bright smile. Good morning. I hope you don't mind. I thought pancakes might be fun. My jaw tightened. Actually, Emily, could we talk? Privately, she blinked, glanced at David, then back at me. Oh, of course. I led her into the front hall, closing the door to the kitchen behind us. My voice came out low, sharper than I intended. You need to pack your things. You're leaving today. Her eyes widened. lips parting in practiced innocence. I. What? Did I do something wrong? I held her gaze, steady and unflinching. Don't insult me. I know the color drained from her face. For a beat, she said nothing. Then she tried to recover, straightening her shoulders. You must be mistaken. David and I cut her off. Save it. I have cameras. I saw everything her confidence cracked. She stumbled over words, reaching for excuses, for denial. But I didn't give her the room. Go upstairs. Pack your things. I want you out before my parents arrive. Her mask fell completely then. Embarrassment mixed with something colder. She opened her mouth as if to argue, but one look at me silenced her. She disappeared up the stairs. I walked back into the kitchen. David looked up, confused by Emily's absence. What was that about? I set Noah gently in his high chair, my movements deliberate. She's leaving. Today he laughed nervously. What? Why? My hands trembled, but I didn't back down. Because I know, David. I know about you and her. The room went silent. Lily froze mid-sentence, sensing the shift. David's face drained of color. What? What are you talking about? I'm talking about the way you touch her. The way you look at her. The way you let her into my home, into our children's lives, and thought I wouldn't notice. My voice cracked, but I pressed on. I saw it, David. On the cameras, his mouth opened, closed, then twisted into something ugly. You're spying on me now? On us? God, you're paranoid. The gaslight flickered to life, but I was ready. Don't you dare turn this on me. You crossed the line. You betrayed me, betrayed our family under our own roof. His voice rose. It wasn't what it looked like. Lily tugged at my sleeve, her little voice small and frightened. Mommy? I crouched, cupping her face. Sweetheart, it's okay. Why don't you go play in your room for a little while? Mommy will come tuck you in soon. She hesitated, then nodded, and ran upstairs. I stood, my eyes locking on David. You don't get to gaslight me in front of our children. You don't get to stand here and pretend I imagined it. He raked a hand through his hair, pacing. It was nothing. A mistake. I didn't mean for it to happen. Didn't mean for it to happen? My voice trembled with fury. You brought her into our home, into my children's lives. You kissed her in the same room where our son takes his first steps. He froze, eyes widening. The truth in my words had landed. He realized how much I had actually seen. Emily reappeared then, suitcase in hand, eyes red but chin lifted. She avoided my gaze as she slipped out the door without a word. The silence she left behind was suffocating. David turned back to me, desperation replacing his anger. Please don't do this. Don't destroy us over one mistake. Think of the kids. I laughed bitterly, a sound that felt foreign in my own throat. Don't you dare use them as a shield. They're the reason I won't tolerate this. My phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. Outside. Do you need me to come in? I typed back. Yes. Moments later, the door opened and Rachel stepped inside like a storm contained in human form. She took one look at my face, then at David, and crossed her arms. So, it's true, David groaned. Oh, great. You called her? She's my best friend, I snapped. Of course I did. Rachel didn't flinch. Pack a bag, David. Because if you think you can smooth this over with half-baked excuses, you're dumber than I thought. He scowled. Stay out of this. This is between my wife and me. Rachel's eyes narrowed. No, this is between a man who made vows and the woman he betrayed. And lucky for her, she's not alone. Right then, the doorbell rang. My parents. David's shoulders sagged. God, you're really bringing in the cavalry, aren't you? Yes, I said, my voice steady at last. Because, unlike you, I take protecting this family seriously. I opened the door to my mother's arms, to my father's protective presence, to the support system I needed more than ever. And for the first time since pressing play on that footage, I didn't feel like I was free falling. I felt anchored. David muttered under his breath, but his voice carried, "If you ruin me, you ruin us all." I turned, looking him dead in the eye. "No, you did that all by yourself."
He says it wasn't what it looked like. Sweetheart, betrayal never is until you hit play. Tell me in the comments, do you forgive or do you phone a lawyer before breakfast?
By 8:05 a.m., my parents were at the kitchen table like sentries. My mom's hand covered mine, steadying the tremor I'd been hiding since the footage. My dad had that quiet, turbulent look I'd only seen twice in my life. Once when a neighbor's dog snapped at me as a kid, and once when a contractor tried to scam us. David had left to clear his head, which meant he was either workshopping a defense or texting a woman who could no longer step foot in my house. Rachel slid a legal pad across to me. Names, times, what you saw, what you said, don't trust your memory, trauma edits. I nodded and started writing. The ink felt like it weighed a pound. At 9 o'clock, I sat across from a family law attorney named Angela Cortez, who had calm eyes and zero appetite for nonsense. Rachel came with me, a human firewall in heels. Angela listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned in. "First, I'm sorry. Second, you did two smart things: installing cameras and not confronting without a plan. Third, set 3 goals: protect your children, protect your home, protect your future." I swallowed. "What does that look like in steps?" "Step 1, she said, ticking off with her pen, occupancy and boundaries. You can require that your husband stay elsewhere temporarily. Step 2, establish a parenting schedule that prioritizes stability and safety. Step 3, documentation. You already have it. Step 4, financials. Don't move money, but don't let him move it either. Freeze joint lines that aren't essential." "And the nanny?" I asked. Angela's mouth tightened. "You hired her through an agency with a thoroughly vetted promise. They owe you a duty of care. That doesn't make them responsible for your husband's choices. But if there were prior complaints about her boundaries, late-night contact patterns, anything that should have raised a flag, we may have negligent placement or misrepresentation. We start with a demand letter." Rachel's eyes flashed. "Let's send fireworks." Angela smiled thinly. "We'll send precision. I'll request her personnel file, the agency's vetting records, and copies of any complaints, documented or not. We'll put them on notice to preserve records. No disappearing files. Meanwhile, you do not engage with the nanny or the agency directly. Everything goes through me." I felt my shoulders lower for the first time in days. "Thank you." Back at home, my mom was making tea, like it could solve world wars. Dad had changed the Wi-Fi password and handed me a little pile of spare keys. "Only your people have them," he said. "We'll rotate locks tomorrow." "Daddy," Lily whispered, peeking from behind him. Her eyes flicked between us, small and unsure. "Is Mommy mad at Daddy?" Every parent handbook should have a chapter for this moment. None do. I sat on the stairs so we were face to face. "Sweetheart, Mommy and Daddy had a big disagreement. It's between grown-ups, and it's not your job to fix it." I felt Rachel watching from the doorway, silent support. "You are safe. You are loved. That will never change." She nodded, brave in the way only children can be. "Is Miss Emily coming back?" "No," I said gently. "Miss Emily isn't a good fit for our family." Lily's lip wobbled. "But she made the pancakes with sprinkles." "I know." I pulled her into my lap. "And Mommy will learn the sprinkle trick." She laughed, a tiny, cracked sound, but it was laughter. I pressed my face into her hair and let the burn behind my eyes pass without spilling. By early afternoon, Angela's email hit my inbox. Subject: draft demand. Agency attached. Please find one. Demand letter for negligent placement / misrepresentation. 2. Preservation notice. 3. Request for personnel file and complaints. Do not forward. We'll messenger paper copies to prevent lost email excuses. We reviewed the letter together over a video call. It was surgical. Quotes from the agency's website. Thoroughly screened. Ethical caregivers. Your family's safety is our first priority. The dates we engage them. The incident descriptions. A summary of damages. And a clear signal. Settle this quietly and responsibly, or we proceed. Smart to mirror their marketing language, Rachel said. They sold safety. They'll hate seeing it boomerang. Angela nodded. If they're smart, they'll call with an apology and a check. If they're arrogant, they'll threaten arbitration and NDAS. My phone flashed with David's name. I let it go to voicemail. A text came through seconds later. We need to talk. Don't do anything stupid. I typed, deleted, typed again, then put the phone face down. My stupidity era ended the day the cameras went up. At 2:30, the door opened. David stepped inside slowly, like he was entering a church. He looked smaller somehow, which made me equal parts sad and furious. I booked a hotel, he said. I'll stay there until we figure this out. Good, I said. Angela will send you a temporary parenting schedule by tonight. He flinched. You got a lawyer? I got a mother for my children. His jaw tightened. I made a mistake. You made a series of choices. Is this really how you want our kids to remember us? He snapped, desperation curdling into anger. With lawyers and schedules and your parents moving into our house. I didn't blink. I want them to remember a mother who didn't let anyone, including their father, treat our home like a playground for his impulses. He stepped closer, voice low. If you blow this up, stop. I held up a hand. There is nothing left to blow up. You already lit the match. He looked past me then, toward Noah's swing, toward Lily's markers scattered on the rug. Regret washed over his face. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the way his fingers tucked Emily's hair behind her ear. Angela will contact you, I said, softer than I felt. Please leave now. He nodded once, swallowed hard, and left. The house exhaled. At 4:12 p.m., Angela called again. Brace, she said. The agency's counsel responded. 2 things. They're invoking arbitration per your service contract, and they're agreeable to resolving the matter discreetly. Translation. They want to keep this quiet and cheap. Can they force arbitration? I asked. They can try, Angela said. But misrepresentation in their public advertising and any prior complaint pattern can pull us out, or at least give us leverage inside it. Also, she paused, a thin smile in her voice. My paralegal found something interesting on a parenting forum with the agency's name. An old thread. A family in a nearby suburb complained, vaguely, about a caregiver blurring boundaries with the husband. The post was deleted by a moderator, but the cached version shows the agency's PR account smoothing it over. My breath hitched. Same nanny? Not named. But the timeline matches. I've messaged the poster for a confidential statement. I closed my eyes. Relief mixed with rage. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. There was a pattern. At 5 o'clock, just as Mom and I were setting the table, a sleek sedan pulled into the driveway. A woman in a navy suit stepped out, carrying a slim envelope and a smile too white to be trustworthy. She introduced herself in the foyer. I'm Veronica with the agency. I was in the neighborhood and wanted to apologize in person. Her voice was honey poured over ice. Through counsel, I said, stepping aside so she saw my parents, my best friend, the fortress I had built in 36 hours. Of course, she purred, eyes sweeping the room like an appraiser. This is purely a courtesy. Mother to mother. She opened the envelope and slid a check across my console table. Substantial, tidy, and insulting. If you'll sign this confidentiality agreement, we can put this ugliness behind you quickly. No need to drag your family through. The truth? Rachel finished for her. Veronica's smile cooled a degree. Through the public spectacle. I didn't look at the number. I looked at my daughter's tiny sneakers by the door and the soft curve of my son's bottle in the drying rack. Then I looked Veronica in the eye. Will you also be putting the other family's deleted complaint behind them? I asked quietly. For the first time, her face flickered. I'll review this with my attorney, I said, sliding the envelope back. If you truly want to do right by families, bring the file you swore you vet, the complaints you swore you didn't get, and an apology that doesn't have a dollar sign attached. The smile vanished. You should know, she said, voice flat now. We have a formidable legal team. So do I replied, and it wasn't a bluff. And mine sleeps at night. We stood like that, two women, two answers to the same question. What does protection look like? Veronica's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then at me. We'll be in touch. She left the envelope anyway. I stared at it for a long beat, the war drum in my chest slowing to a steady, deliberate beat. Then I picked up the pen from the console, uncapped it, and drew a single decisive line through the signature page. I wasn't selling my silence. Not for this, not ever. Behind me, my phone rang. Angela's name lit the screen. Pick up, Rachel whispered. The game just changed. That night, after my parents had gone upstairs and Rachel had finally convinced me to eat something, I found Lily sitting on her bed, with her stuffed unicorn clutched against her chest. The soft glow of her nightlight threw shadows across her cheeks, making her look older than 5, like a child already learning that the world can break the people she trusts. Mommy? She whispered as I tucked the blanket under her chin. Yes, love? She hesitated, then asked in a voice so small it almost shattered me. Did Daddy stop loving us? I sat down on the edge of the bed, heart in my throat. Oh, baby. Number. Daddy loves you and Noah very much. Grown-ups sometimes make mistakes, big mistakes, but that doesn't change how much they love their children. Her eyes searched mine, still unconvinced. But he made you sad. I smoothed her hair back, fighting the sting in my eyes. He did. And that's not okay. But you know what? Mommy's strong. And I have you and Noah, and we have Grandma and Grandpa and Auntie Rachel. We're a team. And no matter what happens, we'll be okay. She nodded slowly, then reached out and pressed her unicorn into my hands. You can sleep with Sparkle tonight, so you don't feel sad when you wake up. My chest ached. I hugged her tightly, whispering, Thank you, sweetheart. Sparkle and I will keep each other safe. As I closed her door, I promised myself I would never let David's choices define her sense of security, not while I still had breath in my body. The next day, I drove to the hotel where David had been staying. Angela advised against unnecessary meetings, but there was something I needed to say face to face, something the paperwork couldn't cover. I found him in the lobby, hunched over a coffee he probably hadn't paid for himself. He looked worn down, his once sharp suit wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. When he saw me, he tried to muster a smile. Thanks for coming. I was hoping we could talk. Just us. I sat across from him, keeping my coat on. This isn't a reconciliation. Say what you need to say. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I messed up, I know that. But what you're doing, it's nuclear. Lawyers, your parents moving in, freezing accounts. Do you want me ruined? I wanted a husband who didn't betray me in my own home, I said evenly. But since that's off the table, what I want is protection for myself and our children. Everything else is just fallout. His jaw tightened. I didn't sleep with her. I held his gaze, unflinching. Yet, but you wanted to. And you would have. The betrayal started long before anyone crossed a bedroom threshold. David. He looked away, guilt flooding his features. It was stupid. She made me feel appreciated. Do you know how long it's been since you looked at me like that? The words landed like daggers. He meant them to. I leaned in, my voice quiet but razor sharp. Do you know how long it's been since you made me feel safe in my own marriage? Since you asked me how I was coping, balancing work and 2 kids while trying to hold us together? You didn't feel appreciated because you stopped being a partner. His face crumpled for a fraction of a second before hardening. So that's it? You destroy me and we never come back from this? You destroyed yourself, I said, standing. And there's no we anymore. He reached for my arm, then thought better of it and let his hand fall. You'll regret this. I looked down at him, calm in a way that surprised even me. No, David. The only regret I have is that I didn't trust my instincts sooner. I walked out before he could answer, the automatic glass door sliding open like a benediction. That evening, Angela called with news. The agency is rattled. They know about the deleted forum complaint, and they're nervous. Their counsel requested a meeting. Off the record, of course. What does that mean? I asked. It means they're trying to control the narrative before this turns into a PR nightmare. I'd wager they're about to throw the nanny under the bus to save themselves. Rachel, listening on speakerphone, smirked. Hope she packed light. Angela continued. Here's the leverage. If the nanny was reassigned to your home after a prior boundary complaint, that's negligence. Full stop. Add your footage, the hush money NDA, and the deleted forum post. They'll settle high. They'll also scrub her from their roster, which helps protect other families. I exhaled slowly, the fight coiling tight in my chest. And David? His counsel reached out too, Angela said. He's worried about the financials. That's good. It means he's on defense. But brace yourself. Men like him don't stay in shame long. They pivot to blame or bargaining. Be ready. I was. 2 nights later, the agency caved. Angela forwarded the email. Subject: confidential resolution proposal. We acknowledge Ms. Nanny's placement in your household did not meet the standards advertised by our agency. We deeply regret this outcome and wish to resolve the matter amicably. Attached is a draft settlement agreement, including financial compensation, release of claims, and non-disclosure terms. Angela's note was simple. They blinked. Now we negotiate. And just like that, the power shifted. The twist came sooner than I expected. Rachel showed up at my door with a printout from social media. You'll love this, she said, handing it to me. It was a photo of Emily, the nanny, tagged by a friend in a bar downtown. She was alone, wine glass in hand, the caption reading, "Some guys aren't worth the drama." She ditched him, Rachel said, smug. Guess Mr. Appreciated is sleeping alone at the Marriott. For the first time in weeks, laughter bubbled out of me. Sharp, bitter, and liberating. David had lost his mistress, his marriage, and soon his reputation. Emily had vanished into the shadows of her own choices. And me? I had my children, my career, my family, my best friend, and leverage. The scales were finally tipping. The settlement came quickly once the agency realized I wasn't bluffing. Angela negotiated fiercely, securing enough compensation to cover childcare for years, therapy for Lily and Noah if they ever needed it, and a clause that barred the nanny from ever working in childcare again. It wasn't about the money. It was about accountability. And for once, accountability was mine to demand. The agency sent another apology letter, carefully worded and stamped with their logo. But I folded it neatly and tucked it into the same file as the camera footage. A reminder of the cost of ignoring instincts. David tried, of course. Dozens of messages poured in, ranging from apologies to threats to pleas. His lawyer eventually called mine with a half-hearted proposal for reconciliation. For the children. I rejected it without hesitation. The children didn't need a reconciliation built on lies. They needed stability. They needed me strong, not silenced. Rachel stayed by my side through every step. My parents rotated shifts at the house until locks were changed, bank accounts secured, and routines rebuilt. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight of everything alone. One evening, as the kids played on the living room rug, I caught myself staring at them. Lily patiently teaching Noah how to stack blocks. Noah's gummy smile stretching wide with every success. My chest filled with something I hadn't felt since before all of this began. Peace. I sat down with Lily, brushing her hair back from her forehead. Mommy's sorry things got hard for a while. But we're going to be okay. She looked at me with the kind of certainty only children possess. We already are. I kissed her cheek, marveling at her resilience. Weeks later, Rachel dragged me out for coffee. We sat at our usual cafe, the one where we'd once planned baby showers and vented about client calls. She clinked her mug against mine. To survival, she said. To more than survival, I corrected. To rebuilding. She grinned. I like this version of you. Stronger, sharper, not apologizing for being right. I smiled, feeling the truth of her words settle into me. I wasn't just surviving betrayal anymore. I was shaping what came next. David? He was already fading into the background noise of my life. His hotel stay had stretched into an apartment rental. The nanny had disappeared from his orbit, leaving him alone to wrestle with the ruins of his choices. Me? I still had my home, my children, my career, my people, and the quiet knowledge that when betrayal tried to break me, I refused to bend.
And there you have it, a nanny who lost her job, a husband who lost his family, and a woman who kept everything that mattered. Remember, betrayal doesn't end you, it exposes them. Share this with your bestie who loves a good takedown. Binge another tale of fate and fire, and never forget, Lady Fate always keeps receipts.